Hey guys, welcome back. This is the story about what if Naruto was master of forbidden jutsu Jiongu. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well, it really means a lot. So let's start the what if. Konoha 5 years after Kyuubi attack. Naruto sighed as he leaned against the tree he was using as a target. The bark was littered with slash marks and punctures, like a bunch of other trees that were in the area. He was working hard mastering his Jiongu and making new ways to fight with it. He had made a bunch of new attacks to use, especially with his new ability. He remembered when the Hokage helped him learn this new part of the Jiongu. Flashback 3 months ago. "Ah, Naruto-kun, I was expecting you," Hiruzen said as he saw the blonde walk inside. "You were?" Naruto asked as he entered. Hiruzen smiled and said, "Yes, I was wondering if you would like to learn another ability of the Jiongu. Don't you know me by now, Gigi?" "Of course I want to learn a new ability," Naruto shouted as he practically bounced off the walls. Hiruzen chuckled and said, "Excellent, we'll leave for my personal training area in a few minutes." "Why? Why don't we just go now?" Naruto asked. "I've been signing a lot of papers today and my hands are a little numb. I would like to have some feeling in them before we start training," Hiruzen said as he glared at the pile of finished paperwork. "Okay, there was something I had to tell you anyway," Naruto said as he took a seat. "What is it?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto pulled back the sleeve of his right arm and showed the Sandaime that there was stitching in the middle of his forearm. "What happened?" Hiruzen asked, thinking that Naruto was attacked. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and explained, "Well, I was thinking about the abilities of my Jiongu and remembered that I could extend my limbs at the stitching. So I was thinking that it would be really cool if I could shoot my arm out at someone. When I tried to do it with my original stitching, it felt really uncomfortable. But then I felt my arm getting tingly and saw that this was happening. Incredible, I thought that you had to be cut for the process to happen," Hiruzen said. "Can you make it go back to normal? I mean, can you make that arm normally attached without the stitching?" "Yeah, but it takes a lot of focus and makes me really tired when I do that, so I decided to leave it there and only take it away when I'm on vacation or something," Naruto said. "It's probably his Uzumaki genes or the Kyuubi," the Sandaime thought. The scroll didn't say anything about this sort of thing. "Naruto," Hiruzen began, "you never cease to amaze me. Let's go, this technique is something that I know you're gonna love." Hiruzen then led Naruto to the Hokage's personal training grounds, which was in a cave behind the tower underneath the Hokage monument. There was a waterfall inside the cave and an area filled with weaponry. "Wow!" Naruto shouted as he saw the training field. "Indeed, it is very impressive," Hiruzen said. The Shodaime and Sandaime created this training field for all Hokages and their personal apprentices to use. "Does this mean that the Sandaime trained here?" Naruto asked. The Sandaime was his idol, so he was excited to be in an area where the Sandaime trained. Hiruzen went to answer, but found himself at a loss for words. "Now that I think about it, the Sandaime only trained here twice. Rumor was it that he had a secret training ground, but nobody knows where it is. Now, before we start on your Jiongu, I'm going to teach you a D-rank Katan Jutsu," Hiruzen said. "You're going to teach me a jutsu?" Naruto cried in disbelief. "Yes, because you're going to need at least one jutsu for this new ability of the Jiongu," Hiruzen explained. "Now this jutsu isn't really that big of an attack, but it's the only one I've got that you probably won't hurt yourself with. But if you do hurt yourself, it won't be too bad." "So what's the jutsu?" Naruto asked, paying close attention. Hiruzen then started to explain the jutsu. The hand seals are Uma, Inu, and Tora. He made the hand seals and took a deep breath before shouting, "Katan, fire bullet jutsu." He shot out a small fireball the size of a tennis ball that impacted against the waterfall, making it steam a little. "Wow!" Naruto shouted in amazement. In order to do this jutsu correctly, you have to gather chakra in your lungs and mold it into the shape of the fire bullet. Then you take a deep breath and exhale the air after it mixes with your chakra. When you are exhaling, you have to change your chakra into fire, Hiruzen explained. Okay. Naruto cried as he made the hand seals and took in a deep breath. After mixing his chakra, he exhaled while shouting, "Katan, fire bullet jutsu." But instead of a fireball coming out, he coughed out a cloud of smoke. Hiruzen just laughed as Naruto ran over to the small lake and began to take big gulps of water. After about 27 tries, Naruto was able to perform the jutsu correctly. The Sandaime made him do it several more times so he could get used to the chakra flow. Now we're going to make an advancement with your Jiongu, Hiruzen said as he pulled out a sealing scroll. So what am I gonna learn? Naruto asked. Hiruzen chuckled at his enthusiasm and said, "You're going to use the Jiongu to make your hearts fight for you." Ha! Naruto didn't understand what he was saying. The Sandaime sighed and said, "You can make the threads come out and make a body for the heart you stole to fight alongside you." "I still don't get it," Naruto said as he scratched the side of his head. Hiruzen then tried to explain it though another approach, pull off your arm and have a bunch of threads come out. Naruto did as instructed and a fair amount of threads came out and formed a sphere the size of the hat Hiruzen was wearing. "Now, can you feel your second heart?" Naruto nodded. "Try to move it into that sphere." Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated. He felt the heart within his body and willed the threads to move it. He could feel the heart as it went up his arm and towards where his arm detached. Naruto opened his eyes and saw the heart, still covered in crimson threads, as it was absorbed by the sphere. The sphere then shuddered as he began to detach from Naruto and it fell to the floor in a quivering mess. "Did I do something wrong?" Naruto asked as he started to worry. "No, what you need to do now is place your hand on the threads and make the heart go into a mask. After I place it on the threads, I'll explain afterwards," Hiruzen said. Naruto nodded and waited for the Hokage to pull out the mask. The Sandaime opened the scroll and pushed some chakra into it, making a mask pop out. It was a fox mask with red markings on it. The mask also had a movable jaw that was filled with sharp teeth. Hiruzen placed the mask on the mass of threads and Naruto placed his hand next to it. Naruto directed the heart to go into the mask, and removed his hand once he felt that the process was done. "Now you should have the threads take the shape of whatever animal you want," Hiruzen said. "Though, you should have it take the shape of a fox since that's the mask we put on it." Naruto nodded again and focused. The threads began to squirm around before they started to take shape. After a few moments, standing before them was a mass of crimson threads in the shape of a nine-tailed fox. It had rabbit-like ears that were curved, and the fox mask that was placed on it moments before. "Wow! I didn't know I could do that," Naruto exclaimed as he watched the construct as it stood there like a statue. "It's a special ability that the Jiongu is capable of," Hiruzen began. "You can animate the threads that your stolen hearts reside in so they can assist you in battle. However, it can only use the element of the heart that is inside it. This just makes me even more awesome," Naruto shouted as he ran around his new construct. "Though, I have to ask, why make it look like the Kyuubi?" Hiruzen asked, getting a little nervous. "Simple, I want it to look scary. That way my enemies will be too busy being afraid and I'll be able to beat them up," Naruto told him. Hiruzen sighed, he should have known that that was the reason. End flashback. Naruto had learned to perform his jutsu though it was very hard to do. He failed at it many times until he was able to get the jutsu to work correctly. He currently had the mask stitched to his mask by a long line that went across the upper portion of his back towards his right shoulder. Of course, he was forced to go through a small wardrobe change because of his new additions. Thankfully, Hiruzen had his personal tailor make the clothes for the blonde. He was now wearing a specially made vest that left his back bare so his masked creature could get out faster. It was black with a red swirl on his chest and dark orange flames on the bottom of the vest. To cover up his mask and stitching, he wore a black trench coat that had a belt tied at the waist. He was wearing black ninja pants with Ayanba shin guards attached to them. On his feet were his blue sandals. Naruto decided to take a walk through the forest and enjoy the relaxing breeze. As Naruto walked through the forest, he could see the shapes of some people that were in the distance. As he crept closer, he could hear what they were saying. "So you're a member of the Hyuga clan?" a male voice said. Naruto got closer and saw 3 boys about 2 years older than him surrounding a little girl that was his age. He couldn't get a good view of her, but she appeared to have dark blue hair and was dressed in some formal robes. "Yes, I am," a soft, timid voice, probably the girl's, replied. "Oh, do you gonna think that we're not worthy of your attention?" a second male asked. "No, I didn't say that." The girl trailed off. "Hey guys, let's show her that we're better than her stuck-up clan," the first male's voice suggested. "Yeah," the other 2 agreed. The next thing Naruto knew, they were pushing the small girl around. "Stop it," the girl cried. But alas, her pleas fell on deaf ears. "That's enough," Naruto said as he stepped into the clearing. The boys stopped harassing the girl and let her fall to the floor. She looked up to see her savior, but Naruto wasn't looking at her yet. He would do so when he was sure that these bullies were going to leave. "Hey, this is the kid my parents said to stay away from," the third bully said. "Yeah, mine said that he was a demon in disguise," the first one whispered. "Demon? But he looks like a regular person," the girl thought as she stared at Naruto. "If you have to pick on someone younger than you, then you are really pathetic," Naruto said. This angered the boys, and the leader stepped forward. "Come on guys, there's one of him and 3 of us, we can take him." "Yeah. You're right." The 3 of them then charged Naruto. Naruto sighed and said, "Just because there's more of you, it doesn't mean that you'll win." Then he got to work cleaning up the garbage. He grabbed the fist of the first bully that came flying towards him and threw him over his shoulder. He sidestepped the second bully and tripped him before he ducked under the third one's punch and elbowed him in the gut, making him double over in pain. "You're outclassed, get out of here," Naruto said as he glared at them. "If I see you bullying anyone else again, then we're going to have problems." With that, the 3 bullies scrambled to their feet and ran away. Naruto then turned to the girl to see her watching him in awe. "You okay?" Naruto asked as the cold look faded from his eyes to be replaced with a caring blue. Now that he was sure that the bullies had left, he was able to get a good look at her. She was around his age with blue hair that was in a Heim-style cut that had 2 bangs framing her face. Her eyes were an attractive color of lavender that reminded Naruto of the moon. "Yes," the girl squeaked as she got out of her stupor, blushing red. Naruto just raised an eyebrow at her antics, before shaking his head and extending a hand. "Let me help you up," Naruto said. "Oh. Thank you," the girl said as she took his hand as he gently pulled her up. She dusted off her robes, before bowing to Naruto. Thank you for saving me," she said. Naruto just waved her off and said, "It's no problem, I couldn't just let them push around someone." "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, what's your name?" "My name is Hinata Hyuga," Hinata said. "Hyuga? Where have I heard that name before?" Naruto wondered. "It's one of the most prestigious clans in Konoha," Hinata said. "Now I remember. I met that Hayashi guy in Gigi's office last year." Naruto realized. "You met Tusama?" Hinata asked. "That was your dad?" "Wow, small world," Naruto said. "I guess so," Hinata said. "Hey," Naruto began, "do you want to be my friend?" "Yes, I would love to be your friend Naruto-san," Hinata said with a small smile and blush. "Don't call me San dash, it makes me feel old," Naruto said. Hinata looked down and said, "I'm so sorry. Would you like me to call you Naruto-kun?" "Yeah. That sounds better," Naruto said with a grin. "Hinata-sama. Get away from him." Naruto turned around just in time to get an open palm slap to the stomach, sending him flying. When he opened his eyes, he saw that it was a young man with brown hair spiked backwards. He was wearing a black kimono and had the bulging eyes of the Byakugan. Seeing that he was out of his league, Naruto leapt to his feet and ran away. "Ko-san! Why did you do that? He helped me when some bullies were bothering me," Hinata cried. "Don't be fooled by its lies, Hinata-sama. That thing was trying to let you lower your guard so it could harm you," Ko said as he began to pull the young girl away, despite her protests. Hyuga compound. As soon as Hinata was brought home, she ran to the garden where she knew her mother would be. Her mother would know what to do, she was really smart about things like this. Inside the Hyuga garden, Hitomi was sitting on a bench rubbing her slightly bulged stomach. She was already 3 months pregnant with her second child. "Ka-chan!" Hinata cried as she ran towards her mother. "Hinata-chan?" Hitomi was surprised to see her daughter in such a state. The young girl leapt into her mother's lap and clung to her robes tightly. "What's wrong, my dear?" "It was Ko-san, he attacked a boy who saved me from some bullies," Hinata said as she clung even tighter. "Ko did what?" Hitomi screamed. Hayashi came running out a minute later, having heard his wife scream. "What happened?" Hayashi huffed. "Our wonderful bodyguard for Hinata decided to save her from a harmless boy that had saved her from some ruffians," Hitomi said. "Hinata, can you tell us about what happened?" Hayashi asked. So Hinata told her the story of how she was rescued from some bullies by Naruto, only for him to be attacked by Ko when they were talking. Hayashi, having heard enough, got up and went to search for Ko. After a branch member brought Ko to his office, Hayashi looked him straight in the eye. "Good evening, Ko," Hayashi greeted. "Good evening, Hayashi-sama," Ko greeted back. "How was your walk through the village with Hinata today?" the Hyuga had asked. "It was fine, I kept her away from all trouble," Ko told him. Hayashi quirked an eyebrow and said, "Really? Because I heard a different story." He then sent Ko a harsh glare and said, "She said that you both got separated and told me how she was assaulted by some ruffians when she was in the forest. And I defended her from the threat," Ko said. "Did you now?" Hayashi asked in a sarcastic tone. "She told me that she was rescued from 3 boys 2 years older than her by a young boy. A young boy that you assaulted without warning. There wasn't a group there, just a boy that was harassing her," Ko said, spitting out the word boy like it was a poison. Hayashi just sent him a glare and said, "So I should just disregard what my daughter told me and believe you instead, correct? That thing probably made an illusion to try and gain her trust before it dash," Ko said. "Enough!" Hayashi yelled, "I will not sit here and let you lie to my face." "But I am not lying, Hayashi-sama," Ko protested. "I have met the Uzumaki boy and have seen that he is a well-mannered boy when he meets his superiors unless they allow him to do otherwise," Hayashi said. "I've seen that he has pure intentions for the village, a village that spits on the sacrifice the Yondaime made." Before Ko could say anything, Hayashi said to him, "Tomorrow you will accompany me, my wife, and Hinata to Uzumaki-san's apartment, where you will apologize for your behavior against him. Maybe if you spend some time with him you will see how wrong the village is when they speak about him." With that, Hayashi dismissed Ko. The younger Hyuga could only walk out of his office in mild shock. He was going to spend tomorrow with that thing. Tomorrow Naruto's apartment. Naruto sat at his table as he finished making his breakfast. A bowl of ninja flakes and a nice cold glass of fresh milk that he bought from the store. He was too lazy to change into his regular clothes right away, so he just sat there in his pajamas. I wonder if I'll see that Hinata girl again," Naruto thought as he ate another spoonful of cereal. He was shaken out of his thoughts by the sound of someone knocking at the door, making him narrow his eyes in suspicion. Only 3 people knew where he lived. The Hokage, Tsunade, and her apprentice Shizune, and they never visited him in the morning. So he slowly crept towards the door and had his threads out and formed them into a blade. Who is it? Naruto asked. He wanted to make sure if it was someone he knew. Naruto-kun? It's me, Hinata, he heard. Naruto took a small peek outside through his door and saw that it was indeed the Hyuga girl from yesterday. But behind her were three people. He recognized Hayashi and the Hyuga that he had the pleasure of meeting yesterday, but he didn't know who the woman was. Naruto thought that it was Hinata's mother since she had the same hair color as the girl. Give me a minute. Naruto called out as he rushed back towards his room and changed his clothes in record time. After adjusting his trench coat, he went back to the front and opened the door. Oh, hello again, Hinata-chan, Hayashi-sama, Hyuga-tame, ma'am, Naruto greeted with a smile. Ko was fuming at his new title, but it appeared that nobody else was bothered by it. You deserve it, Hitomi thought while grinning internally. Come on in, I was just about to have breakfast, Naruto said as he walked back inside, his guests following him in, though Ko was a bit reluctant, until Hayashi sent him a look. Do you guys want anything? All I've got is ninja flakes and ramen, Naruto asked as he walked towards his refrigerator. No thank you Naruto-san, we've already had breakfast, Hitomi said. Oh, okay, Naruto said as he turned around and sat in his chair. So, why did you come over? I mean, I'm not the type of person to get so many visitors, especially in the morning. Ko here has something that he would like to say to you, Hayashi said as he gave Ko a look that said, be nice or we'll have problems. Ko took a deep breath, he couldn't believe that he was going to do this. I am sorry for attacking you yesterday Uzumaki-san, I thought that you were attacking Hinata-sama, not helping her. Naruto shook his head and said, it's fine, you were just doing your job like I was when I saw her being bothered by those jerks. And what would your job be? Hitomi asked. If I'm gonna be Hokage one day, I have to make sure that there's no more bullying. It's not a nice thing to do, Dadabayo. Naruto said. You want to be Hokage? Hinata asked. Yeah. The Hokage's the strongest person in the village, so that's a place for me, Naruto told her. Hayashi was in deep thought for a moment before suggesting, Hinata, why don't you and Naruto go and walk through the village for the day? Really Tsusama? Hinata asked, shocked that he would allow this. Hayashi nodded and said, you should take the time to get to know your new friend. Thank you Tsusama. Hinata stammered out as she went to the front to put her sandals on. Naruto stared at Hayashi for a while before asking, can you lock the door on your way out? Of course, Hayashi said. Okay. Naruto said as he went to put his sandals on. He then rushed back into his room and placed Gamachan in his back pocket before he left with Hinata. Ko, Hayashi started, in order for you to get a better understanding of Naruto, you will tail them and will not interfere with anything unless they are being harmed by civilians or drunken shinobi. Ko looked appalled for a moment before nodding and rushing after the two children. Are you sure that's a good idea Hayashi-kun? Hitomi asked. It's the best one I can think of at the moment, Hayashi said. Training Ground 27. Naruto had led the Hyuga heiress towards his personal training grounds. Ko had followed them and was wondering what Naruto was up to. Naruto-kun, why are we here? Hinata asked. This is my personal training grounds, Naruto stated as he waved his arms out, why we're here is because I want to show you something. What is it? Hinata asked. Can you keep it a secret? Naruto asked. Yes, I can, Hinata said. I'm gonna show you my special jutsu, it's something that I got after I was born, Naruto explained. What kind of jutsu? Hinata asked. A Kinjutsu, Naruto then went and told her the same story the Sandaime told him when he first discovered the Jiongu. By the time he was finished, Hinata was at tears and hugged him saying that nobody had to go through that. Can I see it? Hinata asked. Sure. Naruto replied as he pulled back the sleeve of his right arm and revealed his detachable limb. He then pulled off his forearm and Hinata watched in amazement as the crimson threads came out and stayed connected to the limb. Hinata then reached out and took a small amount of threads into her hands. It's so soft, like silk, Hinata said in amazement as she continued to observe the material. She then began to giggle as a stray thread danced past her ear, lightly grazing it. "What's up?" Naruto asked as he heard her giggle. Hinata blushed for a moment before saying, "Nothing, it just tickled me a little." Naruto then had a playful grin on his face as he thought of something fun to do. "So you're ticklish, huh?" "Yes, I'm terribly ticklish," Hinata said, not seeing his grin. "Why do you ask?" "Oh, no reason, just thought that you might enjoy this." Naruto shouted as he sent his tendrils towards the smaller girl as they began running across her skin. Hinata's eyes went wide before she burst out laughing. "Naha Haruto ho ho. Ha ha ha. Please. It's too much. From what I can tell, you're enjoying this," Naruto said as he took off her sandals and began to scribble his fingers over his feet, making her voice go up another octave. "Ahahaha. Plihahahasi stahahop. I can't tahahake at animahahor." Hinata laughed as she flailed her arms and legs in an attempt to get free. Thinking that she had enough, Naruto let her go and retracted his tendrils. Hinata laid there on the floor taking deep breaths, her face flushed a bright pink. "So, did you have fun?" Naruto asked. "Fun?" Hinata asked. "Yeah, you looked like you needed to smile a bit more, so I discovered the perfect way to get you to do so," Naruto said as he gave her a fox-like grin. Hinata looked at him before giving him a small smile. "Yes, I had a little fun." Naruto grinned and said, "Good, because I have another part of my Jiongu that I want to show you." What is it?" Hinata asked. Naruto said nothing as he undid the belt that was tied around his trench coat and shrugged it off, revealing the mask that was stitched to his back. Hinata put her hands to her mouth and gasped in shock. "Don't worry, this is part of it," Naruto then explained to her how he was able to use the hearts to make creatures to assist him in battle. "Let me show you." Naruto then put his hands in the Taurus seal and said, "Jiongu, activate." The part on his back with the mask began to pulse before the stitching came undone and the mask leapt off with a mass of crimson tendrils attached to it. Once it hit the ground, it took the shape of a nine-tailed fox. That's amazing," Hinata said as she watched the fox stand there. "Yeah. I can also make it use any fire jutsu I know," Naruto said. "Why only fire jutsu?" Hinata asked. "Because that's the elemental affinity this heart has," Naruto told her. Naruto then looked at the sky and saw that was around noon. That meant that it was lunchtime. Of course, it also didn't help that his stomach decided to voice its own opinion, making a large growling noise. Naruto blushed in embarrassment as Hinata giggled at him. "Does someone want to laugh some more?" Naruto asked with a mischievous grin as he waved his tendrils through the air. Hinata giggled a little as she stepped back. That's not any necessary," Hinata said. Naruto chuckled and said, "Let's go and get some lunch. Do you like ramen?" "I haven't had it before," Hinata said as she poked her fingers together. When she didn't hear Naruto say anything, she looked up at him to see that he had a shocked look on his face. You've never had ramen?" Naruto asked. Hinata just meekly nodded and Naruto let out a scream of horror before he took her hand into his own and began racing towards Ichiraku's. After he got his fire heart back into his body. "Eep," was all Hinata could say as she was forced to follow Naruto into the village. Ko was silently following them while trying to prevent himself from rushing the boy. After racing into the village, Naruto stopped in front of the ramen stand and yelled inside. "Old man Ichiraku! We've got an emergency!" Naruto yelled. Tucci ran out to see Naruto with a panting Hinata next to him. "What is it? Did the Hokage limit you to only eating one bowl?" Tucci asked in horror. "Worse!" Naruto cried. "She has never had ramen in her life." Tucci looked at Hinata with some horror written on his face. We need a bowl of miso ramen now." With that, He rushed back into the kitchen, leaving the two kids alone at the booth. After 3 minutes of waiting, Teuchi brought out a steaming bowl of ramen and placed it in front of Hinata. She picked up her chopsticks and took a small amount of the noodles into her mouth and swallowed. Her eyes lit up and she began to eat more of them at a faster pace. "This is delicious," Hinata exclaimed softly. Naruto let out a sigh of relief and said, "Thank Kami, you were suffering from a severe case of ramen deprivation." I don't think that's a real thing," Hinata said. "Of course it is. Nobody can survive without ramen," Naruto said. "But I haven't eaten ramen and I am fine," Hinata pointed out. Naruto put on a thinking expression and said, "But you can't live without a delicious food like ramen." "Cinnamon buns are delicious to me," Hinata said. "Everyone has weird tastes," Naruto said as he went back to devouring 2 bowls at once. After they had lunch, Naruto decided to take Hinata back home. She had to lead the way, of course, since he had no idea where she lived. Upon reaching the Hyuga compound, the kids kept an eye on Naruto while he and Hinata said goodbye. "Hey Hinata," Naruto began, "are you going to join the academy next year?" "Yes, I'm going to train to become a ninja," the young Hyuga said. "Great. Maybe we'll be in the same class," Naruto said. "I would like that very much," Hinata said as she poked her fingers together. "Well, see you around Hinata," Naruto said. The young Hyuga walked back into her compound and Naruto walked back to his apartment. Ko leapt down from the trees, with a thoughtful expression on his face. He entered Hayashi's study where the man was waiting for him. "I trust that there were no problems?" Hayashi asked. Ko shook his head and said, "No Hayashi-sama." Hinata-sama seemed to enjoy her time with Uzumaki-san. Hayashi nodded and asked, "Have you seen how the rumors about Naruto-san aren't true?" "Yes, I even saw that he has a Kinjutsu of his own," Ko said. "You must never speak about it until Naruto-san makes it known to others," Hayashi said. "There are people in this village who would do anything to get their hands on him if they knew." "I understand Hayashi-sama," Ko said. Konoha 5 months later. A 6-year-old Naruto jumped out of bed earlier than usual with a big smile on his face. And why wouldn't he? Today was the day he starts attending the academy. A place where he could meet people his age, hopefully they wouldn't glare at him like all the adults would. While he was still friends with Hinata, he wanted to make more friends and expand his social life. Naruto inhaled his breakfast and put on his clothes in record time. He made extra sure that his trench coat would hide all his stitches so nobody would ask questions. Before he walked out the door, he remembered the conversation he had with the Hokage last week. Flashback: Sandaime's office. "You wanted to see me, Gigi?" Naruto asked as he sat down in the chair across from Hiruzen. "Yes, Naruto-kun," Hiruzen confirmed. "You're starting the academy next week, right?" "Yeah. And I'm gonna be the best ninja there," Naruto proclaimed. Hiruzen sighed and said, "That's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about." "What's up?" Naruto asked. "I don't want you to be the best ninja in the academy," Hiruzen bluntly said. As predicted, Naruto exploded. "What? Why shouldn't I be the best? I want everyone to know how awesome I really am." Hiruzen sighed and told him, "That's the thing, if everyone knew how tough you really were, then you wouldn't be a real ninja." Naruto was surprised. "What are you talking about?" "A real ninja hides his skills from his enemies," Hiruzen explained. "A real ninja is deceptive and sneaky, always hiding in the shadows while hunting his prey. If you were to show everyone your abilities, then they might find ways to counter it." Naruto thought it over for a moment before saying, "So you want me to be weak so people will underestimate me?" Hiruzen shook his head and said, "I didn't say that you should be the weak one. You should just be an average student. That way you won't be weak and you won't attract attention to yourself." "Okay, Gigi. I'll make you proud," Naruto said as he got up and left the room. "Besides, if you showed everyone your abilities, I wouldn't be able to protect you." Not until you become a ninja, Hiruzen thought as he lit his pipe for a smoke. Flashback end. Naruto shook his head and got back to reality as he looked at the clock. He saw that he had a little over an hour to get there. So he tightened the belt on his trench coat and grabbed his aviator goggles. They were a gift from Hinata as a thank you for saving her from the bullies all those months ago. After locking his front door, Naruto jumped down his stairs and leapt into the street before running towards the academy. As he ran, he could see the glares and looks of disgust on the civilians' faces. He just shrugged them off and continued running. After a half hour of running through the streets, Naruto arrived at the main gate of the academy. He looked up in awe of the large building, the place where he would learn to become a shinobi. He could feel his threads reacting to his excitement with all their wiggling. He calmed down and walked into the building, but couldn't keep the grin off of his face. Naruto walked to the front desk where a young woman was reading a magazine. "Hi. Can you tell me where the classroom for the new students is?" Naruto asked. "Down the hall and to your left, it's room 15, the woman said without looking up from her magazine. Naruto said thanks and jogged down the hallways. He arrived at the room and opened the door before walking inside. The room was fairly simple. There was a teacher's desk in the front, a blackboard behind it. The desks were arranged in a rising position where the teacher could see all the students. There were children his age inside the room already sitting down and chatting with each other. 8 of them stood out to him, however. 3 girls and 5 boys. The first boy was sitting towards the back of the was wearing a gray coat with a color that hid everything under the black shades he wore. He had spiky brown hair like his own. Naruto thought he spied a small beetle crawling across his hand, but shook it off. The next boy was a round boy with a bag of chips in his hands. He was wearing a green jacket with spiral markings on his cheeks. He had spiky brown hair on his head. The third boy was sleeping on his desk. As far as Naruto could see, he had his hair styled like a pineapple. He was wearing a gray shirt with a clan marking on it. Naruto thought that he was just tired from not getting enough sleep. After all, Naruto woke up every 3 hours because of his excitement last night. The fourth boy was wearing a gray hoodie with the hood down, revealing his shaggy brown hair. He had slitted pupils and red fang-like markings on his cheeks. Sitting on his head was a small white puppy. The final boy was sitting in the corner of the room with a bored expression on his face. He was wearing a blue shirt with a crest on the back of it that looked like a fan. He had hair that was spiked in the appearance of a duck's butt. Naruto had to stifle a laugh as he thought about that. Finally, he looked at the girls that stood out. The first one was a pink-haired girl with a red bow in her hair. She was wearing a red shirt and black shorts and was staring dreamily at the boy with the duck butt hair. The second girl was on with platinum blonde hair. She was wearing a light purple shirt and pants that reached her knees and had a green clip in her hair. Naruto caught her staring at the girl with pink hair with a sign of depression before she turned back and staring at the same boy, but not as longingly as the first girl. The third girl was someone Naruto instantly recognized. It was Hinata. Naruto smiled as he jumped up the steps to his friend. Seeing that she was spaced out, Naruto poked her in the side to get her attention. Hinata was thinking about whether or not Naruto would be in her class. She hoped that he would. He was her only friend that was her own age after all. She was jolted out of her thoughts by a poke to her side. She practically jumped out of her seat while biting her lip to hold in her bubbling giggles. She turned her head and saw the person she was thinking about. "Naruto-kun!" Hinata softly cried. "Hi Hinata-chan." Naruto greeted. He then sat down in the chair next to her while giving her a large grin. "Are you excited about being here?" Naruto asked. "I'm a little nervous about this," Hinata admitted. "Don't worry about it. You're gonna do great," Naruto told her. Hinata blushed at the praise and just played with her fingers. It was then that the classroom door opened and 2 shinobi stepped inside. They were wearing a Chunins uniform and were carrying boxes full of books. One had his brown hair in a pineapple style with a scar across the bridge of his nose. The other one just had silvery blue hair that fell to his shoulders. "Hello everyone," the one with the scar said as he set the boxes on the desk and faced the class. "My name is Irika Yumino, one of your instructor for your classes at the academy," Irika said. "I'm Mizuki Tuji, another one of your instructors," the other man said. "Now before we start with getting you all settled in for your classes, why don't we all introduce ourselves? I'll call you in alphabetical order and you'll come to the front and tell us your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams for the future," Irika explained. First up, Shino Aburame. The boy with the large coat walked to the front of the room and faced everyone. "My name is Shino Aburame. I like most types of insects. I dislike people who kill insects for no reason. I like to collect and observe different types of insects. My goal for the future is to one day become the Aburame clan head." "Thank you Shino," the Aburame heir walked back to his desk quietly. Next up, Choji Akimichi. The round boy walked up to the front of the room after he left his bag of chips on his desk and faced everyone with a nervous grin on his face. Hi. I'm Choji Akimichi. I like to eat different foods, and my friend Shikamaru. I dislike people who discriminate the Akimichi clan because of how we maintain our jutsu, and people who make fun of me for being big-boned. My hobbies are relaxing with Shikamaru and testing my Ka-chan's cooking. My dreams are to become the next head of the Akimichi clan. After Choji walked back to his seat, Irika looked at the attendance board and said who was next. Sakura Haruno. The girl with the pink hair walked to the front of the room and stood before the class with a look of superiority around her, like she was the boss of the classroom. "My name's Sakura Haruno. I like. My hobbies are. And my dreams for the future are." Every time she paused, she would look at the boy with the duck butt hair and squeal, making the boy groan and slam his head into his desk. "And your dislikes?" Irika asked, already crying on the inside because of the fact that this was a fangirl. "People who are stupid," Sakura roared. After she walked back to his desk, Irika called out the next name. "Hinata Hyuga." After some words of encouragement from Naruto, Hinata walked to the front of the room and faced the class. "Hello, I'm Hinata Hyuga. I like SW sweet foods, and spending time with my friend Naruto. I dislike people who look down on others and seafood. My hobbies are FL flower pressing and gardening. My dreams for the future is to change the way of the Hyuga clan." After walking back to her seat quickly, the next name was called up. Kiba Inuzuka. The boy with the dog raced down to the front and faced everyone with a feral grin. "I'm Inuzuka, and this is Akamaru. I like spending time with the dogs at my clan compound and my buddy here. I dislike cats and people who hate dogs. My hobbies are playing with Akamaru and training. My dream for the future is to become one of the best ninja in the village. Shikamaru Nara." When nobody came up, Irika looked around the room until he saw the sleeping boy. "Shikamaru Nara!" Irika yelled. He was about to yell again when he saw Choji raise his hand to stop him. Choji then turned to Shikamaru and said, "Shikamaru, your mother's here." As fast as lightning, Shikamaru jumped out of his seat while looking around fearfully. When he didn't see his mother, he looked at Choji with a bored expression. "Choji, that was cruel and heartless," Shikamaru told him. "Now that you're awake, maybe you would like to introduce yourself to the class?" Irika asked with a look on his face that just dared him to say no. "Troublesome," Shikamaru muttered as he trudged to the front. "I'm Shikamaru Nara. I like relaxing and playing shogi. I dislike troublesome things like extra work. My hobbies are cloud watching and resting. I don't really have a goal for the future, it's too troublesome to think of one." Most of the class snickered at his introduction while Irika and Mizuki just sighed. They already knew to expect this from a Nara, but it was worse than they thought. Irika just shook his head and called out the next student. Sasuke Uchiha. The boy with the duck butt hair walked to the front of the classroom and looked at them with an air of superiority around him. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, a member of the great Uchiha clan. I like my family and Onigiri. I dislike those who are weak and pathetic. My hobbies are training to get stronger. My goal is to one day surpass my brother Itachi. Iruka nodded as he watched Sasuke walk back to his seat. He looked down at the sheet and bit back a groan when he saw the next name. He considered skipping over it but decided that it wasn't worth the trouble. Naruto Uzumaki. Neither Naruto or Hinata missed the small hint of disgust when Iruka called him out. After being Naruto's friend, Hinata was able to see all the looks of hatred and disgust that were thrown Naruto's way. She asked him why they did that, but Naruto truthfully told her that he doesn't know. The young Uzumaki jumped to the front of the room and faced the class with a big fox-like grin. My name's Naruto Uzumaki, Dadabayo. I like ramen and spending time with my friend Hinata-chan. I dislike mean people and those who think they're better than others. My hobbies are training and hanging out with Hinata-chan. My goal for the future is to become Hokage. As if anyone would let you rule the village you tried to destroy, were the thoughts of the two academy instructors. Once he was back in his seat, Iruka called up the last name of the list. Ino Yamanaka. The blonde-haired girl walked to the front of the room and faced the class. I'm Ino Yamanaka. I like all types of flowers and spending time at my family's flower shop. I dislike mean people and idiots who think they're better than me just because I'm a girl. My hobbies are working at the flower shop and helping my parents. My dreams for the future are to win the affections of Sasuke-kun. Sasuke just banged his head into the desk again, making a nice indentation of his face on the wood. Iruka could see that she was a fangirl, but wasn't lost to the forbidden side of the kunoichi just yet. A simple push in the right direction would help her. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope that you all achieve your goals and become strong shinobi who will work to make Konoha prosper, Iruka said. Now then, how many of you know a jutsu? Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, and Shikamaru raised their hands. Okay then, come up to the front of the room. The four kids did so and Iruka continued. Can you demonstrate them to the class please? I'll go first, that way it won't be too troublesome, Shikamaru said as he stepped forward and faced Naruto. He then held his hands in the nacelle and everyone watched as his shadow went and connected to Naruto. Shadow possession success, Shikamaru droned as he rested his hands at his side, making Naruto do the same. Hey! What gives? Naruto cried as he struggled to control his movements. Shikamaru then reached behind him, making Naruto reach behind him. He then made Naruto grab the ruler on the desk and use it to poke Sasuke. The Uchiha growled and ripped the ruler away from Naruto while giving him a glare. Why are you glaring at me? He's the one making he do this. Naruto protested. Sasuke then went and glared at Shikamaru, who released the jutsu and stepped back. Troublesome, I would have made him poke Hinata, but then she would have gotten mad at me, and an angry woman is more troublesome than you being angry, Shikamaru explained. Okay, enough with that, now let's get on to seeing what the others have to show, Iruka interjected. I suggest that we go outside for my jutsu, it's big, Sasuke told him. Iruka nodded and said to the class, we're going outside to view the rest of the jutsu. The class cheered as they stampeded out the door, leaving behind a large dust cloud. After clearing away the dust, Iruka and Mizuki saw that Naruto and Hinata were still inside. Naruto was patting Hinata's back since some of the dust got into her mouth. When she was done coughing, the two raced outside with the rest of the class. Iruka and Mizuki just performed a shunshin to get there. Okay Sasuke, perform your jutsu, Iruka said once he was sure that everyone was outside. Sasuke nodded and performed several hand seals before taking in a deep breath and declaring, Katon, Great Fireball Jutsu. A large fireball shot out of Sasuke's mouth and went into the sky where it evaporated into the clouds. Impressive, Sasuke! Iruka said as he and most of the class cheered. The ones who didn't cheer were Shino, because it roasted a few insects in the sky, Shikamaru, because it was too troublesome, Hinata, because Hyugas don't like Uchihas, and Naruto, because he didn't feel like it. Alright, Naruto, how about you go next? Irika suggested. Yosh! It's my turn. Naruto cheered as he ran to the front of the class and faced a row of practice targets. He made the correct hand seals and took in a deep breath before crying, Katon, fire bullet jutsu. Several fist-sized fireballs flew out of his mouth and impacted against the targets, burning them to pieces. Don't use our equipment as firewood, you blockhead. Irika yelled as he whacked Naruto on the head with his clipboard. Naruto held his head in slight pain as the tendrils in his body wiggled around in anger. Now Hinata, let's see what you can do, Irika said as he and the class faced the shy girl. She took a deep breath before walking to the front of the class and made a chain of hand seals. Byakugan! Hinata cried as the veins in her eyes bulged and her Byakugan activated. Good! You can already activate your Dojutsu, Irika said as he made a mark on his clipboard. I can also perform the 8 trigrams, 8 palms, Hinata said. Is that so? Use Naruto as an example of what it can do. Consider this punishment for ruining academy equipment, Mizuki said. Surprisingly, neither child had any argument about this. Don't worry about it, Hinata. Just relax and you'll do fine, Naruto reassured her when he saw her apologetic look. Hinata took a deep breath and slipped into the Juken. She then darted forward and began to hit Naruto with her pointer and middle fingers. 2 palms. 4 plams. 8 plams. When she was finished, she jumped back and watched as Naruto stumbled forward. She then ran towards him and caught him as he fell down a little. Wow, you're getting better and better with your training. Naruto exclaimed. Hinata just blushed from the praise and opened up the closed tenketsu. Now let's go back inside so we can go over what you'll be learning, Irika said. The class moved back inside, though Hinata had to help Naruto a little since he was still sore from her attack. Once they were back inside, Naruto was dying on the inside. Why? Because from what Irika and Mizuki were telling them was that most of their classes would consist of going over theories, mathematics, and history. What did theories have to do with becoming a ninja? He did lighten up when he heard that they would be doing some taijutsu sparring every 2 days, and that they would be doing chakra control exercises every day. Kami knows that he needs it desperately. They were let out for lunch an hour later and everyone went to their own corners. Naruto and Hinata sat under one of the trees that was littering the area to eat their lunch. Naruto had brought some of the sushi that Tsunade bought for him every once in a while. Hinata had a bento box that her mother had made for her. So Hinata, when is your sister coming out of you, mother? Naruto asked as he popped a sushi roll into his mouth. She said that it's supposed to be next month, Hinata told him as she chewed on some rice. I wonder what it's like to have a little sister, Naruto said as he looked at the sky. Maybe Hanabi will treat you like one if you come over often, Hinata suggested. Naruto nodded and chewed on some more sushi before he looked out of the corner of his eye and saw that Hinata looked down for some reason. Naruto hated to see his friend sad for any reason and would do anything to cheer her up. So he sent a small thread stealthily through the grass over to her feet before it slipped inside her sandal and began wiggling around. Hinata gasped as she felt the tickly feeling on her foot. She looked over to Naruto while biting her lip to see him looking away innocently, too innocently. Naruto-kun, what are you dohohoing? Hinata whistled while her shoulders shook from her soft giggles. I have no idea what you're talking about, Hinata-chan, Naruto replied while laughing on the inside. Please stop, Naruto-kun, Hinata managed to giggle out. Naruto complied and retracted the thread, but not before it ran across her toes, causing Hinata to gasp out in surprise. What's got you looking so down? Naruto asked. I was just feeling a little sad for you, Hinata admitted, making Naruto confused. Why me? Naruto asked. Because you don't have a family like me, Hinata said. Naruto shook his head and said, you don't have to worry about me, it doesn't hurt as much as it used to. Hinata just nodded and continued eating with her friend. After everyone had lunch, they moved into the courtyard where there were fighting rings in the dirt. Irika and Mizuki were standing before the entire class waiting for everyone to gather around. Okay everyone, we're going to hold taijutsu matches to see how skilled everyone is. When your name is called, step into the arena, Irika explained to them. You will fight until one of you ends up outside the arena, one of you gives up, or I call the match. First pair up is Choji AMD Shikamaru, Mizuki announced as he read the names off of the clipboard. The two friends stepped into the arena, but Choji looked extremely nervous. Irika-sensei, I don't want to hurt my friend, Choji said. Irika sighed and said, it's just a taijutsu match Choji, and I highly doubt anybody here can hurt somebody too much. Naruto just grinned on the inside, too bad nobody knew about his abilities. Shikamaru sighed and said, I forfeit, it would be too troublesome to fight anyway. Irika sighed and gave the win to Choji. Mizuki just put some marks on his board and called out the next pair. Kiba and Renji. Kiba jumped into the field after he left Akamaru underneath a shady tree. His opponent was a civilian who had a smug look on his face. Didn't want you weak little puppy getting hurt? Renji sneered. Kiba just growled and glared at him. Irika, not wanting to see an angry Inuzuka get angrier, just started the match. Kiba leapt forward and dealt a punch to Renji's chest and sent him flying. He landed just short of the ring and leapt to his feet with a snarl. Renji ran towards Kiba and sent a sloppy punch at him. Kiba just scoffed at the attack and knocked the punch away before he tripped him and held a fist to Renji's face. Forfeit. Kiba growled. I give up. Renji cried as he looked at Kiba with fear. Winner, Kiba. Irika declared. The Inuzuka got off of the civilian and walked back to where he left Akamaru and put him back on his head. Irika then decided to call out the next set of fighters. Sasuke and Naruto. Many of the female portion of the class cheered when they heard the Sasuke's name was called. Naruto walked into the after getting a good luck from Hinata, the only female that didn't cheer for Sasuke. Are you two ready? Irika asked. Let's get started already. Naruto shouted as he settled into his stance. His knees were bent, the right side of his body was facing Sasuke, and his right arm was positioned in a horizontal angle across from his chest. His left arm was set in the same position, but it was behind his back. HN, was all that Sasuke said as he slipped into the Uchiha's interceptor fist. Begin. Irika began the fight and stepped back, waiting to see what would happen. Neither of the two boys moved, each one was waiting for the other to start first. Well? What are you waiting for? Sasuke asked. Naruto smirked and said, I'm not gonna make the first move, that would be stupid unless you are absolutely sure that you're going to win. Then I guess I'll start us off, Sasuke said as he darted forward and aimed a punch at Naruto's chest. The blonde boy ducked under Sasuke's outstretched arm and hit Sasuke under his arm, knocking him off balance before Naruto shoved him backwards with a good shoulder to the stomach. Had enough? Naruto asked as he watched Sasuke get his bearings. Naruto was crying on the inside because his poor ears were being assaulted by the loud protests of Sasuke's fangirls. Grr, take this. Sasuke roared as he darted forward and tried to deliver one powerful punch after another. Naruto was able to block most of them, but a couple were able to hit him on his shoulders, and one grazed his cheek. The Uzumaki then fell backwards and used his feet to kick Sasuke in the chest, making him back off for a moment. Naruto took the time to massage his right shoulder while Sasuke was planning his next move. The two of them then darted towards each other again. Wow! They're really going at it! Kiba exclaimed. Yeah, what do you think about this Shikamaru? Choji asked as he ate his chips. Troublesome, I can see that they're really skilled fighters, Shikamaru said. The only one who doesn't look surprised is Hinata. Hey Hinata, doesn't Sasuke look amazing? Sakura asked as she stared at the Uchiha with hearts in her eyes. I'm just surprised that he's able to keep up with Naruto-kun, Hinata said. What are you talking about? Sasuke's the best. There's no way he'll lose. Sakura protested, making the surrounding people lose their hearing for a moment. After she regained her hearing, Hinata said, I've sparred with Naruto-kun, he's stronger than how he's fighting right now. Sakura just huffed and went back to watching the fight, or more importantly, watching Sasuke while mentally undressing him. Sasuke was standing on one side of the arena while taking some deep breaths. On the other side, Naruto just stood there, not having even broken a sweat, courtesy of his ungodly stamina. Before either of them could make their next move, Arika appeared between them. That's enough. We've seen where each of you stand, now let's get to the other fights, Arika said. Wait a minute. Who's the winner? Naruto asked. Arika glared at him and said, it's a draw, you were both evenly matched. Sasuke glared at Naruto, but the Uzumaki just ignored him. Just wait you nobody, I'll make sure that you know that your place is beneath me, Sasuke growled as he walked away to brood. Mizuki, who's next? Arika asked. Sakura and Hinata, Mizuki said as he read the pair off of the board. The two girls had entered the ring and Hinata was taking deep breaths to calm her nerves. Once I'm done with you, I'm going to beat that blonde baka for taking Sasuke-kun's win. Sakura growled. Something in Hinata snapped and she just wordlessly slipped into the juken and waited for Arika to start the match. What's the matter? Too scared to talk to me? Sakura taunted. Naruto was about to yell at her to shut up when he saw the look on Hinata's face. Something told him that he should just watch. As soon as Arika started the match, Sakura ran forward and sent a sloppy punch towards the Hyuga heiress. Hinata dodged the blow and flew at Sakura before she began to strike at her tenketsu. Once Hinata jumped back, Sakura fell to the floor in a heap, ending the match. Don't you ever insult Naruto-kun again, Hinata said in a dark tone, without a single stutter. The winner is Hinata, Arika stammered as he watched the short match. Hinata walked back to Naruto's side before she snapped out of trance she was in. As she looked around, she saw the pile of limbs that was formerly Sakura. Did I really do that? Hinata asked. After getting a confirming nod from Naruto, who felt like he couldn't trust his voice, Hinata fainted and fell into Naruto who quickly caught her. I thought we finally got over the fainting, Naruto sighed as he went and propped Hinata up against the tree before sitting down next to her. While he was waiting for her to recover, the last few fights had occurred, the only one that was at least interesting was with the Ino girl. She was one of the few females that was able to fight like she had some skill. Of course, she wasn't as good as Hinata in Naruto's opinion, but he saw that she was a good person to be in second place for female fighters. While the teachers were going over the results of the spars, Naruto dared to wake up Hinata. But this time she seemed to be in a deep state of unconsciousness. Naruto had poked her and shook her but didn't get any results. Naruto then got a bright idea. He stood a good distance away and shouted, Hinata, the last cinnamon roll is being sold right now. What? Hinata screamed as she shot straight up and grabbed the collar of Naruto's trenchcoat while giving him a crazed look. Where is it? She screamed as she shook him like a madman, madwoman. Hey! You're awake! Naruto exclaimed, completely ignoring the fact that Hinata was about to juken him for the location of the imaginary cinnamon roll. This seemed to jolt Hinata back to reality as she observed what was happening around her. Her hands were tightly gripping Naruto's coat, she was practically face to face with him, and the other students were staring at her with amused looks. Eep! Was all Hinata could say before her face turned into a tomato and she fainted again. Naruto sighed as she fell forward into his arms. Probably not my best idea, Naruto muttered as he set Hinata against the tree before facing the rest of the class. Anyone got something smelly? Naruto asked. Choji stepped forward and handed Naruto some smelling salts. Naruto thanked him and held the smelling salts under Hinata's nose. Hinata opened her eyes and shot up. She looked around and saw that everyone was staring at her, causing her to burn with embarrassment. "You're not going to faint again, are you?" Naruto asked. Hinata just shook her head, not trusting her voice at the moment. "Okay kids, we're going back into the classroom so you can get your textbooks," Iruka announced as he ushered everyone inside. Naruto sighed as he walked back inside. This was an eventful day. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this what if and want to see next part of it, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. See you in the next video. Peace.